Funding for Avery Talks About Stuff was made possible in part by the YouTube AdSense program and by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.
Imagine that you get a call one morning, and it's somebody with some extremely bad news. Your father has passed away. It was sudden, unexpected. He didn't die in a freak car accident either, and it wasn't a long-fought battle with cancer or some other kind of illness. He died solely because of the selfish actions of another person. And those selfish actions cost him his life. Imagine the anguish, the anger, the confusion. What do you even do with that information? How could another human being be so callous as to just murder somebody that they don't even know? After all, your dad was a husband and a father and a cherished member of the community, and now no one even seems to care that he's gone. And now I want you to imagine that on a cold New York, early December morning, a masked vigilante steps out of the shadows and on camera shoots the person believed to be responsible for your father's death. Yahoo! What do you feel then? Now I want you to imagine that the mainstream media keeps telling you over and over and over again that you should feel sorry that that man who contributed to your father's death is dead because he himself was a husband and a father. Forget the fact that he completely disregarded that about your own dad. How do you feel about that? I mean, all of a sudden, you're supposed to care because this husband and father had money. Someone who's in the middle of writing a very angry paragraph just deleted all of it and is now chill with me, and somebody else who was like nodding along thinking that they finally found somebody on their side is now writing that angry comment themselves. This is gonna be a spicy one.
Luigi Mangione.
Luigi Mangione.
Luigi Mangione.
Luigi Mangione!
Luigi Mangione, who is charged with murdering a healthcare insurance company chief executive.
How do you plead? Mangione responding, not guilty.
He's going to be facing gun charges there.
It was crucial that we were able to remove him off the streets of America.
Yeah, I felt really unsafe.
Healthcare executive he's shot in the back on a Manhattan street was a greedy blank that has it coming. Some see Mangione as a folk hero, and his defense fund has raised more than $1 million.
It doesn't mean you have to be so mean to him, okay? And I know it's partially because you hate Italians, okay? And I understand that.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I cover nostalgic, obscure, otherwise strange content, and lately, it's been getting real weird around here. That opening question was not a trick question, by the way. I genuinely have no idea what that would feel like. I can't even comprehend going through that. I don't know what it's like to be Robbie Martin, son of Jackie Martin, who was an 82-year-old retiree who passed away in his own home just 5 days after United Healthcare, the company that he paid to insure him, kicked him out of his nursing home at 2:30 in the morning because giving him the basic care that he needed, that they were paid to supply, was not good for their bottom line anymore. I also don't know what it's like to be any of the other claimants in the class action lawsuit brought against United Healthcare because of things like this happening repeatedly. I don't know what it's like to fight a big corporation to try to get justice for your late father's untimely death. I don't know if when Brian Thompson was announced dead in the streets of New York, if those people felt sadness or fear or relief or justice like karma was being served. You know, I can't speak for any of them. These are obviously my own words. I don't know what they felt. But I know how I would feel if it happened to me. Because yes, while murder is obviously wrong, and I obviously don't advocate for it, I'm not surprised at all that in this economy, in this social climate, we're in this late-stage capitalist fuckfest nightmare. I'm not really surprised the general public couldn't find it in their heart to feel sorry for this CEO who got promoted and got rich and got to a higher ranking in his career by thinking up new ways to cut family members like yours and mine off of basic care that they need to live. I remember hearing about the shooting after it had happened, you know, back in last December. I was writing my Christmas Carol video. It was so weird to be in the middle of writing this piece about this piece of literature that had stood the test of time because of its relatability in the way that it told this story about the rich fucking over the working class, and then in the middle of being elbow deep in the research of that story and what it is meant to people all through these years to then get informed about this CEO, this crooked CEO getting shot in the streets of New York via meme? I can't stress this enough. I didn't hear about it through mainstream media. I heard about it because people started texting me jokes to my phone about the murder happening. That's how I learned that this guy was dead. If you've been watching my channel for any period of time, you probably know that I am, 1, an avid watcher of true crime. 2, I'm a proud socialist. So, 1, the way that cases get solved is so fascinating to me, but also politics is very fascinating to me because politics and law, they govern our whole entire lives. Whether we're thinking about it or not, every moment of every day, they set the parameters for life. But while I have these interests, it's not necessarily the main focal point of this channel, though you guys know, if you've been watching me, that I do dive into my political stances where they intersect with the media that we're talking about. So I've just kind of had all these feelings, but no real way to talk about it on this platform that I've built. But then, a couple weeks ago, my brother came to me with a piece of information that shook my reality. I was not prepared for this. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And again, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that we've seen some crazy shit on this channel, so that should tell you something if I'm shocked by it.
CEO of DB Health has been shot dead.
Matteo Leone has been identified as the shooter.
Alright, to tell this story fully, I have to tell you about RealShorts. If you don't know what RealShorts is, it's a Chinese app that makes vertical films that you can watch on your phone, sort of like a TikTok. So imagine that you watched a movie in TikTok form in like 75 parts.
I'm sorry, Mom. Marrying a stranger is the only option I have to cover the cost of your operation. Why did my contacts have to fall out today? I didn't even get to get a good look at my husband's face.
I heard our new boss is Mason Adams.
Mason? That's the name of the man I married 3 years ago.
It's like if TikTok made a bunch of sensationalized, cheesy soap operas and then posted them as original content that you then had to pay TikTok to watch. I don't think I should be framing it like this. I don't think we should be giving TikTok any ideas. But RealShorts as an app makes a lot of money, so they're probably already thinking about it. Now, most of the films that RealShorts makes, from my understanding of it, are based off of Asian romance novels. And they have their very own unique style. They're batshit crazy.
Logan, how could you leave us like this? You were supposed to help me raise our baby.
My brother's dead. You're the weak, pathetic little human my brother died protecting. How is this possible?
She's our mate.
You will be executed for choosing a human over your pack.
Don't touch my mate!
And this is not in any way a slight to people who work on these films. I actually know quite a few people who are involved in the production of films like this. Hardworking local artists and actors and directors and crew members that just get a script.
You're referring to freelancers in the entertainment industry.
No! They get the script, they have no creative or artistic control over it, and they do their best to make a piece of content that people will enjoy watching. And the reason I'm talking about it now is because they have deviated from their Asian romance novel adaptation formula to make a movie that caught my eye.
I didn't know that there are almost 200,000 health insurance related deaths per year.
Matteo Leone.
Go ahead and arrest me. The people are about to wake up.
That's right, baby. We're ripping it straight from the headlines, Law & Order style. And we will get to Law & Order in a second, because we'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. RealShorts has produced a full-length vertical feature film about Luigi Mangione that they are not admitting is about Luigi Mangione. But it's very obvious. They know it. We know it. They know that we know it. They're not using Luigi's name for legal reasons, I'm sure, but...
The United States versus Matteo Leone, also known as the Adjuster.
Very obvious. And the craziest part to me, which I don't think should be crazy, at least coming from the perspective of the average American, but unlike all of the other American media that I've seen try to tackle this story in the barely 6 months since this murder occurred, this film is really on Luigi's side. And disclaimer, Luigi is of course innocent until proven guilty. Currently he's just suspected as being the killer, but you know, that's disclaimer. I have seen nobody talk about this online, which is crazy because it has consumed my thoughts for weeks now. And I know that I am not a true crime correspondent, I'm not a politician, but I do have 5 years experience covering weird-ass media on the internet. And I want to dive in first to a brief overview of the case and its social impact, just so that we're all caught up together. Then I want to look at 2 pieces of media. Like I said before, the Law and Order episode, the literal ripped from the headlines Law and Order episode about this case. And then we're gonna dive into this RealShorts film. And yeah, we're just gonna be on this ride together, as always.
We begin with breaking news out of Pennsylvania, where police have identified the man suspected in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
In case you happen to not be on Earth this past Christmas season of 2024, here's a brief recap of the murder of Brian Thompson. On December 4th, 2024, Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, the healthcare insurance provider known for denying twice as many claims as anyone else in the business, was gunned down walking to a business meeting early in the morning in New York City. CCTV footage immediately went viral, and mainstream media immediately started trying to spin sympathy for the victim and his family. Sympathy that most people, including myself, are very quick to give in murder cases, except there was one little snag. Brian Thompson wasn't just a CEO. He was the CEO known for ruthless tactics such as deploying AI technology to help the people working in his company deny more claims with less effort. At the time of his death, Thompson was being sued in a class action lawsuit, like I stated previously, by various members of surviving family of people who had died because their health insurance didn't come through and they didn't get the care that they needed. Getting the general public to sympathize with him was kind of like trying to get the poor people of Nottingham to feel sympathy for the sheriff as Robin Hood robs him. And the more American people were told to feel sorry, the more their apathy turned into anger. American insurance is something that has screwed over basically every American ever. It's like the one thing Americans can agree on. We all hate our insurance companies. You have to pay them a ton of money every single year just for them to turn around when you need them and try to deny your claims instead of paying your medical bills, which is what they're supposed to be doing. It's their job. And unlike every other wealthy nation, America, the most wealthy nation, does not have universal health care. The government keeps lobbying and narrowly escaping paying us what they owe. Because, you know, they're the government, and in my opinion, it should be the government's job to take care of their people and provide for everybody's basic needs. Housing, food, healthcare. I don't think I can fully describe to you, like, if you're watching this way in the future and weren't alive for this event, that is a weird thing to think about. But, like, if you didn't live through this point in time, the level of which the general public was on the shooter's side before he even knew who he was insane. It was like we were all watching a remake of The Fugitive, but unlike most remakes, people actually were happy to see this one. After 5 days of sending the police and the world on the manhunt of the century, as mainstream media and social media and literally everyone you know talked about nothing else wherever you went, with the majority of the public seemingly on the killer's side, eventually he was caught in a McDonald's, and we found out his name is Luigi Mangione. Again, this is the man being accused. He is currently innocent in the eyes of the law. He has not been proven guilty yet. Legal things out of the way. And the interesting thing about Luigi was that the mainstream media was itching to vilify him as much as possible because, of course, they are owned by billionaires who are very scared at the prospect that they could get killed, and the public would not care about them either, because once injustice starts affecting the rich, all of a sudden people want to do something about it. Forget the countless other missing people, people of color, indigenous women, all these oppressed groups of people that go missing and are murdered every day, and no one even hears about it because the media won't even cover it. And shout out to all the people doing independent true crime work here on YouTube and really keeping us all informed on the cases that the media will not cover. I think you guys are doing an actual service to the community. The amount of research and reporting it takes to get those victim stories out there is truly something that I'm grateful that you do, by the way. But it's interesting because I believe it was Hassan Piker who said that Luigi Mangione was probably the worst case scenario for the mainstream media as far as who this suspected shooter could have been revealed to be. He's a young, attractive, very wealthy white man. He's the kind of person that society is built to protect, and he got screwed over by the insurance companies. It came out in the wake of finding out who he was that he had had a botched back surgery and struggles with a lot of chronic pain and allegedly had a lot of, I believe, well-deserved anger at the insurance companies kind of festering for a while. So once everybody knew who he was, his cause somehow became even more worthy to people who were following the case. Of course, people aren't a monolith. I'm not speaking for every single person, but you know, it felt definitely like the majority of people online were pro Luigi. Also, and I mean this very respectfully, Luigi Mangione, super hot. I have seen so many thirst traps on TikTok of this man, and while I do not condone simping for murderers, I think I'm gonna let it slide this one time. If all the hybristophiliacs can just, like, divert their energy into this one man, I think we'll be okay in the true crime community. Also, if you simp for your average murderer, get out of the true crime community. Fuck you. This man also made police, by the way, look like morons. They spent 5 days trying to look for this dude after he escaped on an e-bike and taunted them with Monopoly money left in backpacks in Central Park. They had all available officers looking for this guy, and he still managed to make it out of Manhattan. They all came off like the rent-a-cops from Simpsons. You know, the ones that are like, does anyone know which end the bullet goes in? That was what every New York officer looked like during this 5-day period. Luigi is currently being held in the Metropolitan Detention Center of Brooklyn as he awaits trial for his accused crime. But apparently, even in prison, he's super popular. Reports have been coming out for a while now saying that he shares his commissary with people. Basically, as far as I'm aware, when you're in prison, people can put money on your commissary account that you can then use to, like, buy food and snack and items and things like that in the commissary in prison. And because Luigi comes from a wealthy family, he's got a lot of money on his account, and he's just kind of sharing it with he's kind of redistributing the wealth, if you will. So he's making friends. Reporters showed up at the detention center after he had gotten arrested to try to, like, get dirt on him by interviewing some of the other inmates, and they were all screaming "Free Luigi" out the window of the prison, which I've never seen before. He's apparently getting tons of fan mail too, and he's writing back one by one by himself to each of these people. I guess he has a spreadsheet going that he publishes through his lawyers to let people know which letters he's responded to and which ones are in the mail and which ones, and he, like, constantly is thanking people for their support. Stories are going viral on Reddit with girls saying that when they were in college with him and they were sad, he brought them ice cream in their dorm. Like, I think an American poll from a few months ago claimed that his approval rating was higher than literally any American politician currently. So there's a real question about whether or not prosecutors can even find a jury willing to convict this man, especially now that they're pushing for the death penalty, which in my opinion is a really dumb idea. In my experience of watching true crime cases, juries will naturally just be very squeamish, and I don't believe in the death penalty personally, but juries are generally just very squeamish about sending anybody to death row, especially somebody that has this favorability in the public. I mean, obviously they're not supposed to keep all of that in consideration, but it's going to be hard to find a jury that hasn't made up their opinion on this situation, in my opinion. Jury nullification is something that's been thrown around a lot. If you don't know, jury nullification is basically the secret third option of the American justice system, where, to put it very casually, jury nullification is something that isn't really supposed to be a talked about option, but it is a legal way of a jury to basically say, yes, we think this person did the crime, but as his community, we don't really care. And basically they can just let the perpetrator walk. It's a mechanism that's been used for good and evil over the centuries of America being America.
Jury nullification is part of our American civil and criminal justice system. Jury nullification essentially means that the jury decides the law was violated, but they don't care. If you all don't know who Dr. Kevorkian is, he was someone who would help people commit assisted suicide. 3 times in a row, he was found not guilty because the jury said, we don't think that should be a crime. During the 60s and 70s, white people were charged with crimes against black people. All white juries said, yeah, that guy did it, but we're not going to convict him. That's jury nullification.
But it started this whole conversation about ethics of health insurance, because you've got a bunch of people around the world asking themselves, is it ethical to kill a killer? Because that's what Brian Thompson did. In the eyes of a lot of people, he killed or assisted in the killing of a lot of people who didn't have to die, if not for his own corporate greed. So it becomes this moral quandary that feels like something out of a Good Place episode, where people are constantly asking themselves, asking each other, whether or not it's okay to support what Luigi did, because the argument is like the justice system wasn't going to hold him accountable. The justice system is okay with people being murdered for capital in situations like this. Maybe this is justice. And then you've got more straight-laced, by-the-book people that are like, murder is murder. He murdered somebody, he needs to do prison time. And in the middle of it, you've just got the mainstream media telling everybody what to think, which just makes everybody angry. Like, personally, I was completely apathetic when I first heard about it, honestly, if I'm being completely real. I kind of saw the memes, I saw the headlines, and I was just like, oh. And then I went back to working on my Christmas Carol video. But then, as I kept seeing more and more clips of news anchors, like, clutching their pearls, being like, no, a husband and a father? Who could have done this? Then I started getting angry, and that anger kind of led to me wanting to participate in the memes. So as people lash out, there's even more distrust in the media than we already have. It's a whole mess. And it's really a shame that we've gotten to this point instead of just, letting everybody have health insurance. All of this could have been avoided if we just let people have health insurance. We are a nation that literally is more comfortable talking about murder in broad daylight than we are talking about giving the non-wealthy access to comprehensive healthcare. And that brings me to these 2 pieces of media that are recent, but very strange, and therefore fall under my domain here, so I want to talk about them. Starting with the Law & Order episode, it's so funny because there's so many spin-offs of spin-offs of spin-offs of Law & Order that I went looking for this episode and could not find it, and I realized that I was actually looking up Law & Order SVU when I should have just been looking up the original Law & Order, and so that was the big confusion. It drove me crazy. It took me like 10 minutes just to figure that out. The branding looks so similar. The episode starts with a recreation of the shooting. It's a little bit different because he gets shot from the front instead of behind. I don't know if I made that change just to have more plausible deniability, but it's gonna get sillier because there is no plausible deniability here. The 2 main character officers are first responders after being interrupted from a very boring conversation.
Do we really believe Jalen's sick, or did he just want to miss the longest Comstock meeting in history?
Nah, he's really sick. Big guy got hammered.
Also, the people screaming is totally not what actually happened, because did you see the lady in the CCTV footage? Josh Johnson talks about it in his bit, but like, she didn't give a fuck.
The woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill for someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me.
Yeah, it's Logan Andrews. He's our CEO of our company.
The CEO's co-workers are also way more concerned about him than Brian Thompson's real-life co-workers were. It's been said before, but those people still had the meeting that was on the agenda before he got shot.
It was a man, a white guy.
The cops get a tip-off and a description from this narc lady, and then they go running down an alleyway looking for him.
Truck's last known was 53rd eastbound towards First Ave.
The cops are portrayed as way more competent than they were in the real-life case, but he still gets away.
Which is, who would want to kill the CEO of the country's biggest health insurance company? Yeah, I get it.
I love that even the writers can't deny that everyone wants to kill the healthcare CEO. Just to be clear, I don't want to. Just putting that out there. I just find it funny that we can't deny that there's a very obvious motive for a lot of people. Everyone who they talk to who interacted with Luigi just keeps talking about how polite he was. That's also true to real-life Luigi. He flirts with the coffee shop girl, who refuses to help them.
That'd be a hard pass.
A hard pass on what?
The surprise Pikachu face on that one cop is hilarious. The cops rough up this innocent bystander because he's wearing the same jacket, because everybody's wearing the same jacket because they love Luigi. His name isn't Luigi in this episode, by the way. I'm just gonna call him that because we know who he is.
When'd you get this jacket? When'd you get this jacket?
And then the cop just shoves this poor innocent person and tells him to get out of here when he was just walking in the public street.
Book these 3 on obstruction of governmental administration. Hey, we're just trying to help this guy out. Relax, bro. Hey, I'm not your bro, you sick little twerp.
I haven't heard the word twerp used in a hot minute.
I'm very sorry for your loss. Everyone's celebrating this guy.
The pity party for health insurance executives is sending me.
People are acting like he was born on Park Avenue with a silver spoon. His father wanted him to be a plumber.
They talk to the victim's wife, who's like, he didn't even have money when he was born. He was gonna be a plumber. And like, yeah, murder is wrong, but acting like he got murdered because he was rich and not because he actively tried to revoke healthcare from poor people who were dying is a wild take. They interview an ex-employee of the company who's just like, yeah, my boss who died, he sucked. He hated everybody.
Logan Andrews recently rolled out a new algorithm that we were going to use to approve or deny claims. He saw denying a disproportionate number of claims as a good thing.
He just like laughed in the face of cancer patients dying.
Jesus, this is crazy. People are dressing up like the shooter trying to help him get away.
I don't think it was a coordinated effort to help him get away. I think the police just suck. I think they just thought he was really cool and wanted to wear the jacket, which is wild on its own, by the way. Also, this guy they interview is really cool until he becomes a snitch. They kept him the day of, which is woefully inaccurate to what actually went down. They save another poor, innocent CEO who he's just trying to shoot in broad daylight again.
Murder in the first degree.
In court, everyone cheers for, I guess his name is Ethan here.
Shield CEO Logan Andrews, a prominent member of our business community and a beloved father, son, husband, and brother.
Prosecutors get up and give a propaganda piece for court. The DA is being very boomer. Now we get into the fan fiction part of this because they are depicting the trial that has not happened yet. Isn't it bizarre to depict a trial for somebody's freedom before the real life version of that trial actually happens? It's crazy to me. This actor, by the way, he's the guy who played the douchey late night host on the last season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I know he's been in a bunch of other things. That's what I know him by. And this has nothing to do with anything, and I want to say this so respectfully. He is so cute. He's so attractive. Respectfully.
Photocopy of the defendant's notebook. 2/3 of the bankruptcies in this country are because of medical expenses, because somebody got sick, needed help. But every time somebody gets sick, the insurance company loses money.
This is the prosecution putting this up? This is supposed to make them want to lock this man away?
There's no question Ethan Weller shot and killed Logan Andrews. But there's a reason he did it. A legal reason. He was trying to save lives.
Yo, this defense attorney is so cool. My girl literally stood up in court and said, shooting CEOs is legal. That's crazy.
Which means, as a health insurance CEO, that I, too, have killed thousands of people, as did Mark and David.
We're all mass murderers.
Yeah, you're starting to get it, man.
Because we had the audacity to make money for our shareholders, they just hunt us down like we're a bunch of pheasants.
Pheasants is such a rich person. Out-of-term example to give for hunting. Yes, if only the poors could see us now, just like pheasants being shot on our last hunting trip in Dubai. I don't know if there are pheasants in Dubai. The DA wants to cut a plea deal because they think the jury is definitely going to let the guy off the hook, and the other prosecutors argue both sides of the argument.
Logan Andrews is the victim here. He deserves justice. So do his wife, his kids, friends, colleagues.
We're not talking about a saint here. No one. The guy ran a soulless company that made him rich.
I get the feeling that the writers of this episode hate Luigi Mangione, but the executives at NBC are a little bit afraid.
Based on your extensive research in this field, can you approximate how many people have died as a result of this business practice?
Objection.
I want to be her when I grow up.
Overruled.
Your Honor, this is the very definition of a speculative question.
Sit down, Mr. Price.
I mean, theoretically, if someone needs surgery to live and they don't get the surgery, it's a pretty reasonable assumption that they're going to die.
So the idea that Logan Andrews killed them makes absolutely no sense. It is literally impossible.
Objection.
Objection.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. They somehow make Luigi even more sympathetic than the real-life public already finds him. They make him poor and an orphan.
Thousands of people have died because of this. So I chose to do something about it. Because if I didn't, even more people would be left to die.
The judge just lets him give a dissertation to the jury where he admits guilt. What are you doing, man? I don't know why this shot of this prosecutor looking so sad all by himself as he stares out a window makes me laugh, but it does.
Can we acquit even though we don't believe Logan Andrews actually killed anyone? Does the person being saved by the defendant's actions actually have to be present at the time of the shooting?
The dumbest jury questions imaginable. At this point, I'm sitting here thinking to myself as I'm watching this, how are they going to wrap this up?
Madam Foreperson, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Because they're clearly trying to, like, half-ass play both sides of the argument.
In the matter of the people of New York versus Ethan Weller,
How are they going to end this episode?
we find the defendant.
That's right. They just cut to black, baby. At least if they did the Boomer thing and sent him to prison for forever, it would have at least been a decision that they made. But also, I think there might be legal ramifications to why they didn't want to do that. Anyway.
Do you know what it's like to watch someone you love endure constant, senseless pain?
Moving on to the RealShort's classic, The Adjuster. Yes, they call it The Adjuster, which is what they called Luigi online before he was caught.
Of course you don't. You're incapable of empathy.
We get a man named Matteo Leone. Yes, that is the name that they give him, and he could not look more like Luigi Mangione if he tried. I don't know where they found this man, but oh my god, he looks just like him. One of the first things we see is him 3D printing a gun, which is hilarious because it's believed that Brian Thompson's shooter 3D printed the silencer on the gun, but 3D printing the whole gun is insanity. Wouldn't it just, I don't know anything about guns or 3D printing, but I feel like it would just explode after one usage.
This is for you, sis. This is for all of us.
His little sister is dying of cancer, and the insurance company won't pay. Jesus Christ, this is depressing.
So you're telling me there's nothing we can do?
You want to continue treatment? Then pay out of pocket.
They denied the appeal?
He meets an older lady who has also been screwed over by the company.
My husband's gone because they denied every last claim. Now I can't have one in his honor because DB Health wouldn't cover my tremor medications anymore.
Before running into the CEO himself in the hallway.
I'll take $100K and the crypt keeper's wife over there. She won't last a week.
I gotta get $200,000 on the cancer kid.
Who is taking bets with his colleagues on who's gonna make more money off of sick people dying.
You come near me again, you're gonna be very sorry.
It's you who will be sorry.
They give him a full anime protagonist inner monologue. He sneaks into the CEO's office and confronts him.
The guy whose sister you're slowly killing! He's only 9 years old! She has her whole life ahead of her!
You want a bottle cry, baby?
He's cartoonishly evil about it. He stamps denied on Matteo's forehead.
Some woman said you love them.
Matteo's sister then dies. His origin story is now complete. I love that both versions we've seen try to make the Luigi character even more sympathetic. It is interesting, though, that we see different types of suffering as more or less effective shorthand for the audience. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, Luigi's story is already tragic. The more I learned about him, the more I learned, like, the chronic pain that he went through and this fucked up back surgery that has left him, like, debilitated. And his own struggles are horrific in their own right, if you ask me. And even though he came from such an affluent family, his family's money couldn't buy out the corporate greed of the insurance company, and he couldn't buy his health. But I don't know, just a side note, it's just interesting to me that, like, the writers on both of these thought that his personal pain was not sympathetic enough that they needed to give him, in both cases, a female counterpart to die to then make him look like more of a, you know what I mean? It's not even, like, something that I'm trying to, like, state an opinion on. I'm just thinking out loud. I find that fascinating. As a writer, I find that choice interesting.
When my bullet hits you, you'll bleed.
He flirts with a check-in girl at a hotel and uses the name Mario, which is just so funny to me.
Batman?
If only she knew.
And then they recreate the CCT footage of Brian.
You'll never deny anyone else ever again.
Being shot. And they did it so closely that when I showed this to my mom, she thought she was watching the real CCT footage for a second. Like, she thought they used the real CCT footage.
Who would murder the CEO of DB Health?
What happened here, Chief?
Check this out.
Mere moments ago, a man...
Not the mainstream reporters catching strays.
I have to go back.
Mateo doubles back for his sister's bracelet and faces off with the goofiest cops.
Could this be a clue?
Who don't even recognize him.
Y'all already know my struggle. So when I heard denied defender...
On the bullets? Like, unaliving is wrong, but I am on the edge.
DB Health is corrupt, and Karma's a bitch, hunty. So I'm rooting for Mateo.
Oh my god, I hate that they nailed that TikTok culture. TikTok is really a scourge on our society, just like the insurance companies. Also, can I go on the record and say that I hate the way social media has forced us into complacency with self-censoring? Like, I felt the need tons of times over the course of my videos here to say things like unalive instead of murder, or like abbreviating the word self-harm to SH, or, you know, whatever kind of bullshit, because we're all afraid that YouTube is gonna come to my door and beat me up. And I don't, like, fault any creator for doing it, because YouTube and TikTok and Instagram will absolutely try to make us censor things that are real parts of life. And I don't think less of anybody who is going to continue to self-censor that way. I just want to say right now, I'm making the decision, the executive decision for this channel, that we're gonna say what we mean here. I feel like it just comes across as like, to me, speaking for myself, I feel like it diminishes the subject matter when I say it. I also just feel like it's creating this thing in society, and I see it in myself too, where like someone will say something like murder, or talking about terrible things, eating disorders, suicidal ideation, things that I've dealt with in my past, and I just feel like when people say it in the real world, I almost like recoil, like it's almost like I see it in the greater society, and I see it in myself, this kind of like pearl clutching, which was never something that I intended to pick up. And I just think that I would like to get back to a place where we can have raw discussions about things that impact our lives. So, side tangent over, back to the Luigi Mangione movie.
Get the fuck out of here.
They find the backpack of Monopoly money and get his name.
The plot is thickening, and I think our vigilante has just earned his nickname, the Adjuster.
I won't be made a fool of. Tell us what you know, dickwad.
Look, I don't see nothing. My insurance wouldn't cover new glasses, so with or without these glasses, everything's a big blur.
I love that guy. Oh no, my glasses are a little messed up and my give-a-damn is looking real blurry, son.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Harassing people at your age?
This rich lady is bullying the same older lady that Mateo met before at a protest.
You're nothing but a weak old...
Lay a hand on her.
How dare you touch me?
Who's touching my wife?
She happens to be the wife of another high-powered CEO. I think he's a CEO. Making sense of RealShorts movies can be hard sometimes. God, I love RealShorts films.
You shouldn't have done that, Ron.
Oh, yeah? How about this?
I don't know why I haven't seen more content here on YouTube about RealShorts, because they make crazy money. Ask your mom or your aunt about RealShorts. They'll probably tell you that they have it on their phone. I might have to just see if I can get away with streaming some of it and just doing live commentary, because holy shit, some of the titles of RealShorts films alone is something that I don't even have time to dive into, but it's chaos.
Do you realize you just assaulted the CEO of Purple Cross?
Not the CEO of Purple Cross. What a puzzle. I'll never know which company they're taking shots at now.
Who's gonna believe some decrepit old woman and her rat-faced sidekick over a CEO and his wife?
Everyone here?
You mean these lazy invalids?
I love these actors that are playing the husband and the wife. They're just having so much fun being evil.
Who gave you the right to choose? Adjusting now or pay your due. Who gave you the right to choose? Adjusting now.
Cops aren't going to be enough. We need the mayor.
Also, the fact that this CEO of this corrupt company has a direct line to the mayor, nice touch.
Protesters, huh? Those chanting morons are a virus infecting the minds of our youth.
You called the mayor instead of the police?
This pathetic guy's the adjuster? The calculated terrorist who murdered my dear friend Randy.
No. I am the adjuster.
No, I'm the adjuster.
It's me. I'm the adjuster.
I can't believe it. They radio rebelled this fucking movie.
I'm Radio Rebel!
No, I'm Radio Rebel.
No, I'm Radio Rebel! Woo!
Mateo switches jackets with a protester and then gives his new jacket to a homeless person once he's escaped.
26-year-old Matteo Leone has been identified as the CEO shooter. A $10,000 reward is being offered.
I love that their version of TikTok in this universe is just apparently RealShorts because it has a logo. He helps a single mother with a baby. No, but for real, if anybody I know worked on these film, or just if you worked on this film, I'm so proud of you guys. And also tell me all the tea. I need to know what it was like making this movie. A bunch of wanted posters of other CEOs with crimes such as murder and theft listed are circulating, which is a real thing that happened in New York. They actually were putting up wanted posters of other CEOs. New Yorkers don't fuck around.
Let me get a McCrazy with...
The guy at not McDonald's establishment then rats out Mateo.
Answer me, you shit-eating cockroach! Or should I pull the teeth out from your pretty little smile? Don't you realize you're gonna get the death penalty?
The police are doing a police brutality as the mayor eggs them on. Very true to life. He tries to choke Mateo in the most lackluster way possible.
Can't let this sad sack have all the fun.
The mayor himself gets a couple of punches in. The sick slow-mo perp walk to the courthouse. Oh my god.
Burn in hell, you filthy criminal.
Why are they wearing bulletproof vests? They're rich. The police aren't gonna shoot them.
You know it.
Back off.
Okay, throwing a piece of paper at the cop like we're in the middle of grade school together. Hilarious.
Let the court decide.
Innocent until proven guilty!
But they're right, he is innocent until proven guilty. That's how the justice system works. Not just saying that because I like him, I'm saying that because that's literally law.
It's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience.
They recreate the moment where he's yelling back at protesters and they're like cheering him on and he's encouraging them. It's the moment that led to this viral picture where they tried to use it in the mainstream media to make him look angry and crazy, and people just started to love him anymore and be like, damn, he's kind of hot though.
Now what's your fucking name, boy?
Matteo Leone.
Oh shit.
Once he's in prison, they realize who he is. They all love him. And again, this apparently is very true to life, according to first-hand accounts from the prison where Luigi Mangione is being held. Apparently, Luigi is just never gonna beat the cutie patootie allegations. This fit that they got is so accurate to the real-life fit of his arraignment hearing. I can't believe it. I think it was his arraignment hearing. Anyway, the whole trial is gonna happen in one day, which, if you know anything about how court cases work, hilarious. But anyway, the preppy sweater and the boat shoes, the fangirls fainting.
Matteo Leone viciously targeted Randall Thornwald. Rather than grieve with dignity when his sister died of cancer, he cruelly premeditated the murder of a loving family man.
Also, I love this actor who's playing the evil prosecutor. His cadence is fantastic. In one of the most truly out-of-pocket moves I think I've seen in this whole movie, they put the victim's son on the stand, and he just goes off about how evil his dad was and how he's proud of what Mateo did. Jesus Christ.
My dad enjoyed hurting people. His entire vision as CEO was built on keeping people sick.
I also love Mateo's defense attorney. She's so short and disillusioned with the system, and I relate to that so hard.
Mr. Leone had to act drastically to save lives. And today, we're here to defend his right so he can defend himself and others from becoming victims of a murderous corporation.
She puts a series of victims of the insurance company on the stand, which I don't think is legally admissible in court in this context, but it's fascinating.
We went bankrupt, and now we're homeless.
Couldn't afford it. So he died.
This is so camp, but you know, camp is such a disrespected art form. We need to respect it more. The way that camp is able to bring your attention to the shortcomings and fallacies of society, it's chef's kiss.
And he did what no one else had the courage or actually the balls to do.
This sweet little lady saying balls on the stand is so funny to me.
This isn't a circus!
Why does this judge look like George W. Bush?
Thanks for being here. While I still have a voice.
They pull up pre-recorded live stream video that he's like, I guess set as a scheduled premiere on YouTube? And that's how he gives his defense? I'm so confused by this plot point.
I didn't know that there are almost 200,000 health insurance related deaths per year.
I need someone to cut this speech together with Flick's speech from A Bug's Life, where he's talking about standing up to the grasshoppers because it's giving the same energy.
Ants are not meant to serve grasshoppers. I've seen these ants do great things. And year after year, they somehow manage to pick food for themselves and you.
We're bigger than them! All right, we're bigger than them if we stand up together. Who's with me?
And everyone clapped, baby.
After thorough consideration, Purple Cross Health will discontinue our limited anesthesia policy.
Our company will end its wait-and-see policy beginning at the first of the month.
We'll be halting our lottery policy.
Okay, the lottery policy and the wait-and-see policy are crazy, but don't forget that the limited anesthesia policy was an actual policy announced shortly before the murder by Blue Cross Blue Shield that they then walked back. No, they ran it back. They turboed that shit all the way back as soon as Brian got shot. They were like, never mind, you can have your anesthesia.
Whatever happens today, you did this.
I love his defense attorney. She is so cute. Mateo is shown writing all of his fans who write him in prison.
Death or life in prison. At least I said my piece.
And then they also end without showing us a verdict. I guess it's too close to being some kind of legal issue to predict a verdict in real murder cases. I don't know exactly what law would potentially prevent that, but it feels like there must be some legal fear that both of these films chose to do that. Because I don't think it was because they were, in this case, afraid to take a stand. I think Law & Order was just afraid to take a stance either way, but this film definitely took a stance, so there must be some kind of legal ramification. If you're a lawyer and you want to chime in, let me know. But like, maybe it could be seen as like jury tampering, but also if a juror has seen any part of this film, I think they're disqualified anyway. And if that's the case too, Law & Order got really close to towing that line by giving potential jury answers. Like, it's interesting to me. I just want to see a legal expert dive into that whole part of the situation. 5 years now, I have been covering nostalgic, obscure, or otherwise strange content here on the internet. And at times it feels like I have seen everything. But every so often, something like this comes along. Truly gut punches me. I cannot believe this movie exists. I just want to say, by the way, in my notes here, Luigi Mangione's name got autocorrected to Luigi's Mansion. Beautiful. The Luigi Mangione media is one of those things. I'm not really shocked by the fact that they made it. I'm just impressed almost by how quickly the turnaround was. Like, for anybody who doesn't think that we the people are being heard, just know that executives saw a capitalist opportunity in how many people resonate with Luigi Mangione. American healthcare is probably the biggest scam I have ever seen. That's how you know this whole situation is wild. That's how you know capitalism is truly eating itself. American healthcare is probably the biggest scam on earth, and those companies have so much blood on their hands. Blood of innocent people that have died because we've privatized our insurance. Do not let any politician actually fight against your interests, and then tell you that you should also be fighting against your own interests by not believing that the government should provide you with basic needs. We know, especially because of the current administration and the spending budget that they just passed, which is absolutely bullshit and just benefits the wealthy and takes more tax money from poor people. American politicians oftentimes trick American voters, and I don't know how they do this, but they trick American voters over and over again into fighting against their own interests. That's an incredible scam. I can't even believe it. By the way, the fact that this Chinese app that makes the most insane movies I've ever seen had a more enjoyable version of this story that seemed to resonate more clearly with the average American than fucking Law and Order should tell you something about the state of cable TV and legacy media. Anyway, ever since I saw that this movie existed, I knew I had to make a video about it. This might not be the most well-written video essay I've ever done, but I needed to get my thoughts out on this because it's something that I've been holding on to for months ever since this happened. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. Everything you do to support this channel means the world to me. If you're new here and you're a fan of nonsense, maybe consider sticking around. I post nonsense all the time, and remember, my name is Avery. I'm a YouTuber if you say so, because thanks to you guys, this is technically a YouTube channel. Stay safe out there.